Hello students, how are you all? Hope you all are doing very well in your studies. Students, today we are going to discuss the topic exemption of capital gain under section 54, 54B and 54D under the head capital gain. Students, you all know when the capital gain levy when you transfer your capital asset and receive any consideration. Consideration means the entire consideration. No, we have already discussed in our classes that the consideration on which the tax will be levied is the net consideration. It means that is your capital gain. For example, if you have purchased a land earlier for rupees 5 lakh and now you have sold that land for rupees 10 lakhs, then the capital gain in this complete scenario that you are purchasing something for rupees 5 lakh and now you are selling that thing on in rupees 10 lakh, so you have already make a profit of rupees 5 lakh. Student, on this part of profit, that is in respect of a capital asset, this part of profit is known as capital gain, and in this capital gain, on this capital gain you have to pay the income tax, that is income tax on capital asset. Okay student, now there is a confusion regarding the capital gain exemption. What is the confusion? Students generally ask me, ma'am, why these exemptions are so important in the under the head capital gain? Why these exemptions are given to taxpayers? Why this facility of exemptions? Why this advantage of exemption is given to the taxpayers? So students, here is the answer. You all know a house property, as we have discussed in the first lecture of a capital gain, that a house property is a capital asset. What is the house property? House property is a capital asset. It means if anyhow you are going to sell your house property and you are making some profit on that sale, you have to pay the capital gain, you have to pay the income tax on that capital gain part. You all know it. But now the confusion is, sometimes what happens, if we take example of Mr. Sameer, Mr. Sameer is selling his his house property. But what is the motive of the selling of this house property? That this house property is in area A, but he wants to acquire the house property. He wants to reside in the area B. So that's why he wants to acquire the house property in the area B. Now what happens? Mr. Sameer has previously acquired this property which is in area A for rupees 6 lakhs. Now he knows that the rate of the property in area B is rupees 8 lakhs. He goes to the market, he finds the real estate agent, and he then decides that he is going to sell this property to someone else, to Mr. D, for rupees 8 lakhs. Now what will happen? The sale consideration, the entire consideration which Mr. Sameer will receive is rupees 8 lakh, but the purchase price, that is the cost of acquisition is of this property, is rupees 6 lakh. It means Mr. Sameer is clearly making a profit of rupees 2 lakhs. Mr. Sameer is clearly making a profit of rupees 2 lakh on this sale transaction. Now, income tax department will come and say to him that Mr. Sameer, please pay income tax on this part of your capital gain. Why income tax? Because you are making some income from this transaction, so you have to pay the income tax. Now what happens? Mr. Sameer will have short of money for buying this property, because he just sold this property not to make income. He sold this property, he sold out this property to Mr. D to make money so that he can invest that money in buying the property in area B. That's why our income tax department, our CBDT, has come with the conclusion. They said that we are going to give exemptions under the head capital gain. Exemptions under the head capital gain, it means, students, on the certain part of capital gain, taxpayer does not need to pay taxes. It means taxpayer does not need to pay taxes on that certain part which falls under the head, under the category exemption. Okay students, so I hope why the exemptions are very important for the taxation purpose, why they're very important for taxpayers, you now know this very well. Now we are starting how many kinds of exemptions are covered in your syllabus. So students, at the intermediate level, there are six sections of exemptions which we are going to discuss here. Okay, The 6 sections are following. The first section is section number 54. Then section number 54B, section number 54D. We are going to discuss these 3 sections in our today's class. Okay, and in our next class we will discuss section 54 EC, section 54 EE, and section 54F. Students, trust me, these all sections are very important as well as very easy. I don't know why students always say that, ma'am, we are confused in these points, we were confused, but now we are okay with this point. Okay, so I can assure you, after watching this lecture, you will be able to say that we have so much confidence in these sections. Okay, so now start this section. First of all, we are going to discuss section number 54, but before starting, let's erase this. Wait, students, let's erase this and start a topic, section number 54. So students, section 54 is as similar as example which we have discussed in our class. It means section 54 is about transfer of residential house. For example, students, section 54 clearly says about capital gain on sale of residential house. It means if a person is transferring his residential house, what I am saying is residential house. Okay, so if a person is transferring his residential house and he is making some capital gain on it, then under which section he can avail exemption? He or she can avail exemption under section 54. Section number is very important for your examination, this section number particularly. So what is the section number? Section number 54. Section number 54. Okay, so students, first thing which we are going to discuss is that who are the eligible assessees who can avail the exemption under section 54. So students, if we think very logically and very rationally, so who can reside in a house property? Who can reside in house property? Only an individual or a Hindu undivided family can reside. Can a company reside in a residential house property? No. Can a partnership firm? No. Local authority? No. LLP? No. It means who are the eligible assessees, that who are the assessees who are the assessees who can claim this exemption. So there are only 2 eligible assessees for this section particularly, that is individual, and second is HUF, that is Hindu undivided family. And how will you memorize it, that only 2 eligible assessees are there? Students, who can reside in a residential house property? Only an individual and only persons of Hindu undivided family. Okay, let's start it. So the first point we have already done. Who are the eligible assessees? Only an individual and a Hindu undivided family. Okay, now the question comes, what are the conditions that they are required to fulfill? Can any person, any person means who are the persons who are covered in this category? Individual and HUF. So can any individual or HUF who are making the transaction of transfer of residential house property can claim this exemption? No, straight. There are some conditions which they are required to fulfill. What are those conditions? The first condition is that there must be a transfer. There must be a transfer of what asset? Transfer of jewelry, transfer of car? No, straight. There must be a transfer of a residential house property. There must be a transfer of residential house property. So what is the capital asset which is covering under the section number 54? Only and only house property. Okay, student. So there must be a transfer of residential house property. Now the question comes, which I think is already coming in your mind, is that, ma'am, what is the meaning of house property? That any vacant land, any land on which no building is there, can we set it as residential house property? Students, can you reside on a bare land? No. So what is the residential house property? Land and building attached thereto. It means land, building or land apportionate thereto. This consists a residential house property. Okay, students. So now the first point is there should be a transfer of residential house. What is the meaning of residential house? Buildings or lands apportionate thereto. It means if any building is transferred, we can say that the person is transferring his residential house property. But if a person is transferring only the bare land on which no building is there, can we say that? Or if a person is transferring only the land, he is not selling the building, Can we say that the person is transferring residential house property? No. Person can transfer this land under the category of residential house property, but only and only one condition he or she can satisfy. What is the condition? That this land must be a part of the building which he is going to sell. Okay, student. So building or land, apportionment thereto, it means building or land which is attached to that building. Clear? The next condition which he or she requires to fulfill is that, students, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the section 54? That if the section 54 is not available, then many taxpayers who are actually not going to transfer their residential house property to make income. They are going to transfer their residential house property because they want to acquire some other residential house property. So what is the condition here? This condition is that this residential house property must be a long-term capital asset. What is meaning of long-term capital asset in the case of immovable property? Students, just remind the lecture 2 what we have discussed there. An immovable property is said to be a long-term capital asset if assessee has if assessee has a holding period of more than 24 months. So if this property is for more than 24 months in the name of the assessee, then it must be said that this property is a long-term capital asset. So if he or she wants to claim the exemption under section 54, they must have this residential house for at least for more than 24 months. Okay, student. So the second condition is it must be a long-term capital asset. It means if the residential house property is a short-term capital asset, the transfer of the capital gain arising on transfer of residential house property cannot be covered under the exemption head. Okay, student. The third point is that the income arising from this house property. I am saying house property, and where the income arising from house property is taxable, it is taxable under the head income from house property. So very simple condition that income from such house should be chargeable under the head income from house property. So earlier, if any income is arising from this house property, so it must be chargeable under the head house property. Okay, straight? Clear? Now, the next point comes, which is an amendment also via, this amendment covers via Finance Act 2019. So it is very important for your examination. What is the amendment? Amendment is doing. Firstly, I am going to tell you what is the act before this amendment. After it, I will tell you that what is this amendment and why it is very advantageous. Okay, friend. Before this amendment, what is going to happen is there is a condition that a person can acquire only one house property in from the consideration of the sale of this house property which he had earlier in his name. It means, it says that if Mr. Sameer has a house property, if a Mr. Sameer has a house property in his name and he wants to transfer it, he wants to claim exemption under section 54, then what he is required to do, that he is required to construct or purchase another residential house property. It means if we say that residential house property in lieu of residential house property, it means if he is going to sell this residential house property and incurring some capital gain, then he must utilize that capital gain in purchasing another residential house property. Only and only then income tax allows us to claim exemption. Now the question comes, how many residential house property he or she can purchase. So earlier this amendment, there is a condition that he or she, that in our case Mr. Sameer, can purchase only and only one residential house property in the lieu of old residential house property. But now what happens? Why the amendment and what is the amendment? Why the amendment covers? What is the amendment? Now we are going to discuss that point. So sometimes nowadays it is very common that a person has normally person purchases two residential house property. Even a middleman even a middleman in a family, what we are going to do is we are going to purchase two residential house properties. That okay, if we are investing in a property and it will be advantageous for us, so we will purchase two house properties. But what happens if a person sells his a bungalow and purchase two residential house property? Then earlier what was going to happen is that section 54 does not apply in this condition because he's going to invest his capital gain in one or more residential house property. But now this all scenario has amended. What is the amendment? It has amended to an extent. What is the amendment here? Students, now our Finance Act 2019, as I already told you in our basic concepts of income tax, that is chapter number 1, that every year Finance Act amends our income tax act to an extent. Okay, students. So what is the amendment here? That where the amount of capital gain exceeds 2 crore, that where the amount of capital gain, it means where the amount of income on transfer of residential house property, where the amount of capital gain is more than 2 crores, is more than 2 crores, then in this condition there is no amendment. It means he is not a middleman, he or she is not a middleman, so we are not going to give any exemption to them, any amendment to them. It means even now they can purchase only one residential house property by the transfer of by the utilizing the amount of that capital gain which incurs on the transfer of that residential house property. Okay, but if a person who has sold the property and incurred the capital gain, and the capital gain amount is not exceed 2 crore, it means the capital gain amount is less than or equal to 2 crore, so then what they can do now is, students, if the amount of capital gain does not exceed 2 crores, if the amount of capital gain does not exceed 2 crore, it means it is less than or equal to 2 crore. Okay, so now they can purchase from that amount of capital gain one or more residential house property, that is they can purchase more, maximum 2 residential house property in this condition. But what is the condition for this 2 residential house property? That capital gain amount must not exceed 2 crore. If the capital gain amount exceed 2 crore, then for availing the exemption under section 54, they have to purchase only and only one residential house property in lieu of transfer of that residential house property. But if amount of capital gain does not exceed 2 crore, it means if the amount of capital gain is limited to 2 crore, it is less than or equal to 2 crore, now the taxpayer can purchase one or two residential house property. Okay, students, let's. Now the next point comes, ma'am, you said that it means you said that a person has to purchase another residential house property. If he is not going to purchase another residential house property, he or she cannot claim exemption. Yes, students, you understand it very correctly. Now the question comes is, ma'am, in how much time period they have to construct or they have to purchase? It means they have to acquire it another house property. They can do one thing, that they can purchase it after 10 years or after 15 years and then tell to income tax that yes, we have purchased it, so do not levy income tax on us. No, students, they can't do that, as the income tax restricts the time limit also. What they said, that the person can acquire, you tell me, generally you tell me, how what are the modes that a person can acquire residential house property? There are only two modes now. First of all, he or she can construct the residential house property, or second, they can purchase, they can buy that residential house property. So student, if they are going to construct that residential house property, we all know that construction takes time. So they said that if a person has going to construct the property, they must construct it within a period of 3 years after the date of transfer. It means after the date of transfer of that old residential house property, within a period of 3 years, that construction must be completed. Okay, students? Now the question comes, what is the time limit for purchase? So students, we all know that what normally person does is they pay some advance money before purchase of that house, and after that purchase complete, they pay the balance amount. So what income tax also gives that an option. They said that if you want to purchase another residential house property, then purchase it, but purchase it before 1 year of transfer of date, or within a period of 2 years from the date of transfer of that residential house property. Okay, student? So in construction, they are giving it more time, but why they are giving it more time, that is 3 years now, because we know that construction takes time. But if logically we understand now, so they also giving 3 years time to purchase property also. But how they are giving it 3 years time here? They bifurcate the time. They said that purchase before 1 year from the date of transfer, or purchase within 2 years from the date of transfer of that residential house property. Okay, student. Now again the question comes that, ma'am, a person has to pay income tax. A person has to pay income tax before filing his income tax return. Yes, students, you're very right. You know very well. A person has to pay his income tax before filing of return of income, that is before filing his ITR income tax return. But now, how he will be able to tell to income tax authority that yes, I have received entire consideration, and I have also incurred some capital gain, but within period of 2 years I am going to purchase another residential house property. Can they will rely on his words? No, student. Income tax will not rely on his words. Income tax always demand proof. They want evidence that yes, you must do this work which we are saying, that you must going to purchase your property within a period of 2 years. So for this, what they have to do is they have given an option to SSC. They said that before filing your ITR, what is ITR? ITR is income tax return. Before filing of income tax return, you have to deposit this amount of capital gain in a scheme which is known as CGAS, that is capital gain account scheme. What is this capital gain account scheme? So students, basically what you are required to do is you have to open with any bank, with any bank like PNB, SBI, ICICI, you can do with any bank. You have to open a capital gain account there, and you have to deposit that capital gain amount in this account. Okay, student. And what you are required to do afterwards, you are required, when you are going to utilize that amount, it means when you are going to purchase that property or when you are going to construct that property, you can withdraw that amount from CGAS, that is capital gain account scheme, and you can purchase it. You have to pay no taxes on the capital gain amount. But what will happen if you do not purchase it, or you do not utilize this amount within a time of 2 years or within a period of 3 years? Then students, at the time of expiry of this time, that is 2 years in the case of purchase or 3 years in the case of construction, in that previous year you have to pay tax on capital gain unutilized amount. Okay, students. So for this, now, as I said you that if the capital gain amount does not exceed 2 crore, in the case of individual HUF, because they are the only eligible SSEs here, they have this option that purchase 2 residential houses in India before 1 year or after the 2 years from the date of transfer. And in the case of construction, they can purchase 2 residential house property, but only and only if their capital gain amount does not exceed 2 crore. Okay, student. But now what assessees are doing, assessees are going to do, because assessees mind always is that where we can evade the tax, where we can save our taxes. They usually, what they usually think after this amendment comes, they think that okay, now income tax gives this amendment, now we can only do one thing. What is that one thing? We will purchase a property after the period of 24 months, because the property must be long-term capital asset. There's a condition, requirement condition. We will sell this property and we will purchase 2 other properties. Then after the completion of holding period of 24 months, we will sell this property, that is property B, and we will again purchase 2 properties, that is property C and D, because every time we are not going to make the amount of capital gain exceeding 2 crore. In this way, we are going to make the net of, and in this way, we are going to save our taxes, we are going to make very income, we are going to become very rich. But income tax says that don't be over smart. Smartness is good, but over smartness is not good. So what they said that the option of purchasing 2 properties is a lifetime, once in a lifetime opportunity. It means that you can use this opportunity once in your lifetime period. Okay, so if you have opt this option, if you have opt this availment of purchasing 2 properties in any assessment year, you cannot avail this option in any other subsequent assessment year. Okay, student. So for this, I have written here an example on page number 54. Open your books, page number 54. This implies that if an assessee has availed the option of claiming benefit of section 54 in respect of purchase of 2 residential houses in Jaipur and Jodhpur, Say, in respect of capital gain 1.50 crore, they have purchased the two houses in Jaipur and Jodhpur, arising from transfer of residential house at Bombay in the previous year 1920. Then he will not be entitled to avail the benefit of the section 54 again ever. In respect of purchase of two residential house properties, for example, they are going to purchase any other two residential house property again in Pune and Baroda, so they can't do this because there's a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Okay, student? Now, another point is what is the quantum of exemption? That is, what is the limit of exemption? So, student, this answer is going to be given by you, not by me. Okay, discuss it. What is they saying? So, we are going to discuss an example and you are going to give me the answer of this very easy question. That what is the quantum of exemption? Student, let's think that if the long-term capital gain is, for example, 2.05 crores. Long-term capital gain arising from transfer of a residential house property 2.05 crore, and the cost of the new house property is 3 crore. So what is the quantum of exemption here? It means they are going to purchase a property of 3 crore. They are going to purchase a property of 3 crore, and they have a profit. They have a capital gain of 2.05 crore. It means they have utilized the complete LTCG. They have utilized the complete long-term capital gain. So are they required to pay any tax? No, they are not required to pay any tax. It means entire amount of capital gain is exempted here. Entire amount of long-term. Why it is long-term capital gain? Because transfer must be of a long-term capital asset. Okay, students. Now, the second example which we are going to discuss is, for example, students, let's assume that the long-term capital gain again is 2.05 crore, but the property which the residential house property which they are going to purchase is of amount 1.55 crores. It means from this amount of 2.05 crore, they have utilized only 1.55 crore. So, student, how much amount they can avail as exemption? They can avail only 1.55 because it is very simple. They have 2.05 crores in their pocket and they utilize only 1.55 crore. It means balance amount is unutilized, and the unutilized amount shall be liable for taxable. Okay, student. So here is an example which we have completed in a question answer series. Okay. Now the next question, very important question is, ma'am, what will happen? Students normally ask this in my face-to-face classes, that ma'am, what will happen if they transfer this new house property before 3 years? Student, let me tell you one thing before this, that there is a lock-in period. There is a lock-in period. It means the new residential house property which they have purchased from that capital gain amount, they can't sell it, they can't transfer it, even they can't transfer it before the period of 3 years. Before the period of 3 years. So in the case of section 54, there is a lock-in period of 3 years. What is this lock-in period? It means the property which they have acquired, new residential house property which they have acquired, they cannot sell it out before 3 years. Now students generally ask me, ma'am, what will happen if they transfer it, they transfer the new asset before 3 years? So students, if they transfer this new asset before 3 years, then at the time of transfer, what will happen? At the time of transfer, what will happen? They have to pay capital gain. Very easy, because on capital asset, which is a long-term capital asset, they have to pay which is a long-term or short-term capital asset, they have to pay capital gain. So if they sell this property, they have to pay capital gain. Capital gain on which amount? Capital gain on sale consideration minus, that is net consideration. If I usually term, net consideration minus cost of acquisition. Let's assume that it is a short-term capital asset. So net consideration minus cost of acquisition. Now, for example, in our example number 1, if they are going to sell this house property, so what is the cost of acquisition of this house property? The cost of acquisition of this house property was 3 crores. Now assume that the net consideration, that the sale consideration in which they are going to sell this new house property is 6 crores. Wait, students. they are going to sell this house property in 6 crore, so they have to pay the tax on capital amount, capital gain of 3 crores. But if they sell this, if they sell this property before lock-in period, that if they sell this property in lock-in period, within the lock-in period, we means they sell the property, they sell the property before 3 years. So what will happen is the capital gain amount, the entire capital gain amount which was exempted earlier, shall be reduced from the cost of acquisition. It means cost of acquisition is 3 crores, but the capital gain which was exempted earlier was 2.05 crores. It will reduce from this amount. It means from 3 crores, 2.05 crore will be reduced. So now cost of acquisition shall become 0.95 crores, and now capital gain will become 6 minus 0.95, that is 5.05. So if they sell this property after the lock-in period, that is after the 3 years, after the period of 3 years, they have to pay tax only on amount of 3 crores. But now if they are going to he is going to sell the property within the period of lock-in period, he or she is liable to pay tax on the amount of higher amount, that is 5.05 crore. It means if the new asset is transferred before 3 years from the date of its acquisition or construction, from the date of, now the next important point is from which day, or date we have to compute this 3 years to student, from the date of acquisition or construction of new residential house property. The cost, we have to calculate the 3 years period, from which date, the date on which they are acquired that property. Okay, and what will happen if they transfer this property before 3 years? The cost of asset will be reduced by capital gain which was exempted earlier. As in our example, 2.05 crore will be reduced from the cost of new asset, that is 3 crores. Okay students, so I hope this point has been clear to you. This section is completed over here. Okay students, now the next section is which is going to discuss here is section number 54D. After these sections we will also discuss a practical question. Now the next section is section number 54D. Students, section 54 and 54B are very much similar, but what is the main difference in these section is, the main difference is student that in section number 54, what is the capital asset which is going to transfer? The capital asset was residential house property, but in the case of section 54B, in the case of section 54B, the capital asset shall be the agricultural land. What will be the capital asset? The capital asset shall be the agricultural land. Now there are two types of agricultural land. What are the types of agricultural land? Memorize the chapter number 3. We have discussed there income which do not form part of total income, chapter number 3, we have already discussed there that there are two kinds of agricultural land. What are the kinds? First one is rural agricultural land and the second one is urban agricultural land. So it means when agricultural land is sold out, then section 54B will come into place if the following conditions can be fulfilled by the city. You are going to discuss this thing, you are going to memorize this thing, but friend, there is a twist. What is the twist? The twist is we have discussed in our lecture number 1 of capital gain that rural agricultural land, it means agricultural land which is in a rural place, agricultural land which is in a rural place, which is in a rural area in a specified kilometer, this is not a capital asset. It means rural agricultural land is not a capital asset, and if an asset is not a capital asset, then the capital gain will arise on it. The answer is no. Then if the rural agricultural land is not a capital asset, it means capital gain will not levy, and if capital gain will not levy, there is no question of section number 54D. So it means capital gain on transfer of urban agricultural land is the main point here. Okay students, so if in MCQ question, that is multiple choice questions, or in your subjective questions, in your practical questions, or in your articulture, if anyone asks you that if a person is going to sell out his rural agricultural land, then the section 54 is available for him or not? So it is not available because rural agricultural land is not a capital asset and there is no question of capital gain there. Okay students. Now, who are the eligible assessees? So, similar as section 54, eligible assessees are individual and Hindu undivided family. What are the conditions? So, first condition here is there should be a transfer of urban agricultural land. We have already discussed this point. Why it is urban agricultural land? Because rural, not capital asset. Okay, Spring. Second is, what is that, as we have discussed in section 54, the property must be long-term capital asset. So the similar point here is that such land must have been used for agricultural purpose. Such land, section 54b is not talking about the holding period of land. It is talking about the usage of that. They are saying that such land must have been used for agricultural purposes by the assessee, being an individual or his parent or a Hindu undivided family, in the 2 years immediately preceding the date of transfer. So on the date of transfer, they have to compute the previous 2 years immediately preceding the date of transfer, and they have to check it out that whether at this time of 2 years they are doing at this time of 2 years they are doing agricultural operations on this land or not. If they were doing agricultural operations, they can claim the exemption of section 54b, otherwise they can't. Okay, friend. So here the most important part is usage of land. Now the next point is, by the amount of that capital gain which arises from the transfer of this agricultural land, what they are going to purchase. So they must purchase another agricultural land. They must purchase another agricultural land. Now students, this agricultural land may be rural or may be urban, because when we are going to sell out the property, we have to consider it whether it is rural or urban, because on rural land there is no capital gain, because rural agricultural land is not a capital asset. But when you are going to avail the exemption of section 54b, you can invest the amount of transfer of you can invest the amount of that capital gain which incurs by the transfer of urban agricultural land in the purchase of agricultural land. I am not saying urban. In the purchase of agricultural land, it means that agricultural land maybe can be of rural or can be urban. Okay, friends. So in how much time they have to purchase? Same as 1 minute, friends. So same as section 54, there is a time limit on it. And what is the time limit here? Here the time limit is that they have to purchase another agricultural land, whether it is urban or whether it is rural, within 2 years from the date of transfer. Within 2 years from the date of transfer. And similarly as section 54, before filing of income tax return, they have to deposit that unutilized amount in capital gain account scheme. Okay, straight. Now the question comes, ma'am, how our income tax authority is going to know that this person has actually deposited that amount? So students, practically what is going to happen is, while filing income tax return of any assessee, that assessee is required to attach the evidence of proof of deposit of that amount in capital gain account scheme. Okay. Now next question comes is, what is the quantum of exemption? Same point, section 54. What is the point here in section 54p? If cost of new agricultural land is more than or equal to capital gain, entire capital gain is exempt, because entire capital gain is already utilized. But if cost of new agricultural land is less than capital gain, it means entire capital gain is not utilized. So only utilized amount of capital gain shall be exempt. Unutilized amount shall be taxable, that is balance shall be taxable. Okay, spring. Now again, here is a lock-in period for new asset, and here the lock-in period is again 3 years. If a person has sold out the new agricultural land before 3 years, that he is transferred, even if he have transferred before 3 years from the date of acquisition, then the cost of the new land will be reduced by the capital gain which was exempted earlier. Okay, students, I hope there is no need that I will give again example, because we have already discussed the example in section 54 in detail. So without wasting the time, we will move to next section. But here is an homework for you. I have drafted an example here, and you have to self-study, this example. So this is a short homework for you from my side. Now the next point is section number 54D. Last but not the least topic of today's class is section 54D. Students, as in section 54 and section 54b, what are the capital assets there which they have transferred? In section 54, residential house property; in section 54b, agricultural land. But in section 54d, the point comes when if a person has its land and building, I'm not saying land or building, so there is not an option. If a person has a land and building, it means it is a combination of land and building. There is not an option that he can sell out only his building. He has to sell out his land as well as his building. It means uh, both components have to be sale out. This point, if a person has land and building in an industrial undertaking, in an industrial of an industrial undertaking, that is in an industrial area, he has an industrial undertaking. Industrial undertaking means land and building. It means a property. If government if government for any reason compulsorily acquire this property, which property of an industrial undertaking, if government acquires this property by compulsory acquisition, means with they government said to the assessee that whether you want to sell this property or whether you do not want to sell this property, you do not have any option. You have to sell this property because we have compulsorily acquired the property. Government has the right to compulsorily acquire the property. So students, in case of this compulsory acquisition, can this person is giving this property at free of cost? They're saying, okay, I'm afraid you can't take this property. No, what government is going to do is, government is making compensation for this. It means they are going to give the transfer amount to this. So it means the person is transferring his property and receiving the amount. On this amount, he is obviously making some capital gain, some profit, and in normal scenario he has to pay income tax on that capital gain part. But what government says to them, what our income tax act says to them, that if a person is transferring his property by a compulsory acquisition of land and building of an industrial undertaking, that he or she can avail exemption under section 54D. Under section 54D, now we are going to discuss this section in detail. First of all, the major change in the section with the section 54 and 54B is, in section number 54 and 54B, eligible assessees are only and only individual and Hindu undivided family. But in section 54D, eligible assessee may be any assessee, whether it is a company, whether it is a partnership firm, whether it is an HUF in the individual, or LLP, local authority, artificial juridical person, anyone. So eligible assessee can be any assessee. What are the other conditions which are required to be fulfilled is that, there must be compulsory acquisition of land. It means it must not happen that this person goes to government and says to them that please take my property, I want some money, please take my property, I want to sell it. There must be compulsory acquisition of land and building, or any right even in land or building. If they are going to say that we are taking this right, this part of property only, then even this section 54D is applicable. But there must be compulsory acquisition of land. There must be compulsory acquisition of that land and building on it. Now friend, what is the holding period? Now the next question comes, that we have as we have discussed in section 54 that the asset must be a long-term capital asset. We have discussed about usage in section 54B. In section 54D, they are saying that the land and building should have been used. It is also talking about the usage of that property. It should have been used by the assessee for the purpose of the business of the industrial undertaking for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date of transfer. Okay, student. Now, the next is, now if we are talking as a logical person, as a rational person, if government is compulsory acquire the property of this Mr. A, then if they are actually compulsorily acquire, what is this Mr. A is going to do is, Mr. A will purchase another building, another land and building in any other area, any industrial land and building in which now he is going to commence his operation. So the assessee must purchase any other land or building or construct any building for shifting or for re-establishing the existing business within 3 years from the date of transfer. So what is the period of acquisition of new industrial property here is 3 years. If person has not availed this time period of 3 years, he cannot avail the exemption under section 54D. Okay, students. Now, if such investment is not made before the date of filing of income tax return, what is he required to do? You all know what he or she is required to do. he or she is required to deposit the amount in capital gain account scheme before the due date of filing of income tax return. Okay, students? Now, what is the quantum of exemption? If cost of new asset is more than or equal to capital gain, entire capital gain shall be exempt, as we have already discussed in section 54 and 54D also. But if the cost of new asset is less, it means less amount is utilized, so only utilized amount shall be going to exempt and the balance amount shall be going to tax save. Okay, students? Now, students, there is an important note here which I have put it in the box. The exemption in respect of capital gain from transfer of capital asset would be available even in respect of short-term capital asset, being land or building or any right in land or building, provided such capital asset is used by the assessee for the industrial undertaking belonging to him, even if he was not the owner for the said period of 2 years. What they are saying here is we have to take notice of usage of that property. It means if a person was not owner at the time of 2 years, but he was using that property, using that industrial property for his business, even if he was not the owner, don't worry, he can claim exemption under section 54D if he was the owner at the time of transfer, but he was using that property for his industrial requirements before the 2 years time. Okay, straight. So in section 54D and 54D also you have to take care of the point usage, not the point of holding period. Okay. Now again, lock-in period here is for new industrial properties 3 years. If we sell that part before 3 years, what is going to happen? Cost of the new asset will be reduced by the amount of capital gain which was exempted earlier. Okay, friends. By this point, we have completed our 3 sections in today's class, that is section 54, 54D and section number 54D. But there is an important point which was written on the page number, one second friends, which has written on the page number 62. So please open your page number 62 in your books of income tax. There is a point, seventh point, capital gain account scheme. What is written here is under section 54, 54 and 54D, 54, 54D and 54D, which we have discussed in today's class. We are going to discuss only also this point related to that point. What is it? Capital gain is exempt to the extent of investment, that is utilization of gain or net consideration in specified assets within the specified time. If that amount remains unutilized, what is going to happen is at the time of expiry of that period, that is 2 years or 3 years, in that previous year in which that time is expired, the amount, unutilized amount, shall be taxable for assessing. Okay, spring. Now again, there's a time limit which we have discussed with the section, that he has to make the payment in, he has to make investment in capital gain account scheme before filing of return of income on or before the due date of filing of the return of income, whichever is earlier, which is very important point. That is, I have tell you to read this one. What is saying, students? Suppose ITR due date, income tax return, due date of filing of income tax return. Normal scenario, due date of filing of income tax return is 31st July. 31st July. But for any condition, Mr. A, Mr. A has already filed his return, income tax return on 30th June. So think logically. When he must deposit that amount in capital gain account scheme before 31st July or before 30th June? Obviously before 30th June. Why this happens, students? Because at the time of filing of income tax return, he has to attach the proof of deposit with his ITR. So up to which date he must deposit that amount in capital gain account scheme? Due date of filing of return of income, or before the filing, actual date of filing of return of income, whichever is earlier. In our case, in our first example, the actual date is earlier before the due date. But in our second example, we are going to discuss, for example, suppose Mr. A has filed the return on 30th September. Now he goes to income tax department and say that I will make investment in capital gain account scheme up to 30th September, because I am going to file my ITR on 30th September. Okay, I will pay penalty, that is due date has already been passed out, but I will pay penalty. But as you are required to see the attachment with my ITR, I will pay up to this amount. In that case, friends, what will happen? The amount of capital gain account scheme which is going to receive by banks late, they can make tax evasion by this method. How they will how they will evade the tax by this method is, students, what they will do is, okay, we are going to deposit our 2 crore capital gain amount by delay of 3 months, that is by delay of 2 months. This is 31st July. By delay of 2 months, that is August to September, we will deposit this amount in another account, and we will receive the interest on this amount. By paying the little bit penalty, we will compensate it, and we will again make it income. But to stop this, but to prevent this, what income tax says, what our Finance Act 2019 has said, what our Income Tax Act even has said, that you have to make the payment, you have to make the investment of this amount before filing of return of income, or before the due date of return of income, whichever is earlier. So at earliest date, you have to make investment. Okay, students, in which amount? In which account? In capital gain account scheme. So in this scenario, person Mr. A has to make the investment up to 31st July. Otherwise, if he's not going to make the investment up to 31st July, he cannot claim exemption under section 54C. Okay, so with this point, we have completed our 3 sections, and students, I hope you have understood the sections very well. In case of any query, in case of any confusion, you can ask me freely via my WhatsApp group, via personal message, via SMS, via email, Telegram group, by any other mode. Okay, student, thank you and have a nice day.